Welcome to Bryanston School and our Scholars CAD Task. You should be sat at a computer that is set up with a video which you're watching, and another tab which will take you through into some computer aided design software. Now this task has been set up to see how well you can follow instructions, to see how you cope with doing new tasks, and to see how you may problem solve or use your initiative. In this task, you're going to follow a video recording that shows you how to model a robot head using a piece of computer-aided design software. Now, it's not expected that you'll finish the task in the time you're given, so if you don't complete everything, don't worry. The idea is not to get through everything, it's to see how well you follow the instructions and to see how you cope with doing something new that you've probably not tried before. So you should find that you are watching this video and you can move over to the tab as I've just shown at the top of the screen. So you can go between the video tab on YouTube and to the CAD software. So the idea is watch the video for a little bit, pause it, you can press the space bar or click pause with the mouse, then carry out the instructions on the CAD software, then go back and watch a bit more of the video. It's not a race, it's not a rush, it's just to see how you cope with following this task with a series of instructions. So without further ado, let's make a start. Now the first thing you're going to do is create the document that you're going to be working on. So in the top left hand corner, left click on create. You'll find that all of this is blank for you, so just left click on document and create, and I'd like you to give this the name of yourself so that we know that it's your file. So I'm Mr. Moggeridge, so I'm going to type in my name there, and then I'm going to left click on create, and that will then take me into the design part of the studio. If you get any messages come up like this, you can just close those because you don't need to worry about reading those. It's likely to come up if you've used this for the first time, which you will have, and also it's likely to come up if there's been any updates on the software over the weekend. Now this is the modeling screen, and the first thing I'd like you to do before you make a start is to share this file with me, and it will allow me then to see how far you've got. So to share the file, up in the top right, left click on share, and then just type my email address, which is tim@bryanston.co.uk. And if you then share that with me, this document I can see, and I can see how far you've got through with it and how well you've followed the instructions. So once you've done that, you can just close it and we will start to model. So this is a straightforward task. I'll take things very, very slowly for you, and I'll explain what's going on and some of the pitfalls that you might come across. So just listen to the instructions, look what goes on screen, and try and follow it to the best of your ability. There should be a teacher around to help if you get a little bit stuck, but try and do this under your own initiative, and if things don't quite work out how you think they should, just go back and have a look at the previous bit of footage on the instructions and maybe just undo what you've just done on the CAD package. So let's make a start. First thing we're going to do is we're going to create a sketch on the front work plane. So hopefully on the screen you'll see that there are three work planes: a front work plane, a right work plane, and a top work plane, and as I move the mouse pointer over those work planes, they get highlighted with orange edges. Now the way this software works is we're going to create a sketch on the front work plane, and then we're going to apply a feature to that sketch. So I'm just going to hover the mouse over to where it says front, and I'm going to right click the right mouse button, left click on new sketch, and I'm then going to press the N key, N for normal to, on the keyboard. The other thing I could do is I could right click and left click on view normal to sketch plane. I had to right click in space to do that. If I go back and change it back to isometric, I can show you what happens if I press the N for normal to on the keyboard. If I press the N key, that spins around, and I'm looking now flat onto the front work plane. Now the first sketch I'm going to do is going to be a square, and it's going to be a center point square. So I've got all the sketch tools along here, all the different things that I could draw with, and towards the left hand side we have a rectangle, and I'm going to left click on the little arrow next to it so that I can pick up the center point rectangle. Left click on that, you can see the icons changed, I'm going to move over to the center. I'm going to left click to place the center of the rectangle, and then I'm just going to come out to the bottom right, left click again to complete the drawing. So it's drawn a rectangle. I'm now going to dimension that with a particular size. So I'm going to use this dimension tool, left click on the dimension tool, left click on the top line, and then left click in space. I'm not going to hover over the edge of the other work plane. Can you see it going orange there? Because it will try and dimension to the work plane and it will be a 90-degree angle. So I'm just going to place it a little bit out of the way and to the left. And I'm going to type in 120 for 120 millimeters and then press enter on the keyboard or return on the keyboard. And I'm going to do the same over on the right hand side as well. So left click on the line, left click in space, type in 120 and then press return. And all I've drawn now is a square 120 millimeters by 120 millimeters. But that will be infinitely thin. So if I hold the right mouse button down in space and just move the mouse around, I can turn it so that I'm looking at this in 3 dimensions. And I have a square, but it's just infinitely thin. I've got no thickness to it. So I'm going to extrude this to turn it into a block of material. So without closing the sketch, I'm going to leave this open. I'm going to left click on extrude. I'm going to change the distance over here by clicking on it and then typing in 120. So we're going to create a cube. I'm going to make sure that new selected because we haven't got anything else drawn so far. So this is going to be new. But what I am going to do is change this here. So I'm going to click on symmetric and watch what happens over here. First of all, you'll see the distance changes to 120 millimeters. And secondly, you'll see that it comes out of the screen and back into the screen an equal amount. So left click on symmetric and there we go. And that's all I need to do. So I'm going to left click on the green tick to confirm that I'm happy with that. This is going to be the head of our robot. So we're now going to add some features onto this. So I'm going to hover over this front face and I'm going to right click and then I'm going to left click on new sketch. I'm then going to press the N key for normal to so that it spins round. And I'm going to use the same tool that I used before. So I'm going to use this center point rectangle tool, left click on it to select it. And again, I'm going to left click on the center, the origin in the middle of the screen to place the center of the rectangle. And then I'm just going to drag it out and left click down here towards the right somewhere. I'm now going to dimension this and I'm going to dimension it slightly differently this time. So left click to select the dimension tool, left click on the top line, left click to the left of the work plane. And I'm going to type in 30 for 30 millimeters. And I'm now going on the right hand side, I'm going to left click on the right line. And just above the center line, I'm going to left click and I'm going to make this one 25 millimeters. Press enter. So again, if I hold the right mouse button down and spin it around, you can see I've drawn a rectangle on that face. We're now going to extrude that to make the robot's nose, if robots have noses. So let's left click on extrude. And this defaults to 25 millimeters. I'm going to leave it at 25 millimeters and you'll see this time it's adding to what we already have. That's absolutely fine. Left click. Next, let's add a mouth to the robot. So again, right click on that front face, left click on new sketch, press N for normal to, and again we're going to use a center point rectangle. Left click on that. Now I'm going to hover over the origin. I'm going to come down so I'm lining up with the orange. You can see some dotted orange lines and the origin is highlighted in orange as well. I'm going to left click to place the center and then just drag out another rectangle, left click to place it. Again, use the dimension tool. This time the long line, I'm going to click on, place the dimension and type in 90. And for the height, I'm going to do the same over on the side and I'm going to change that to 20. And this time I'm going to click on the origin, which is that dot in the middle, and the middle of this rectangle, and position this over to the right out the way. And I'm going to type in 35 for 35 millimeters. So the center of that rectangle and the center of the nose are 35 millimeters apart. Again, hold down the right mouse button, spin that around. We can see we've kind of drawn the shape of our mouth, but there's no feature there. This time we're going to remove material. So we're going to cut into the block. So left click on extrude, and this time it's defaulted, as you can see, to 25mm coming out. We're going to change the add to a remove, and that will then go in the other direction, and it's removing material. So left click to confirm that, and if I just spin that around with the right mouse button held down, you can see that we've now got a face on our robot. Okay, let's add an eye. So same as before, hover the mouse pointer over the front face, right click, left click for new sketch, and again press N on the keyboard for normal 2, so that we're viewing flat on to make it nice and easy for us to be able to draw. This time we're going to use a center point circle. So left click on the center point circle tool, and I'm going to left click somewhere in this sort of top left hand corner to place the center of a circle, and drag it out, and left click again to place the circle. I'm now going to hover over the center of that circle, and I'm going to go over to the right, and I'm going to left click to place the center of another circle, and then move the mouse out and left click again so that I have drawn a second circle. Let's put some dimensions in for these. So I'm going to use the dimension tool again. First thing I'm going to do is dimension the first circle's diameter. So I'm going to left click on the circumference, left click in space, and I'm going to type in 20 for 20mm. I now also want to position the center of that circle. So I'm going to click on the top edge of the face, and then on the circle center, come over to the left click to place the dimension, then type in 20 for 20mm. And I'm going to do the same on the left edge of the face. So left click on the edge, left click on the circle center, come up here, left click to place the dimension, and again I want that to be 20mm. So type in 20 and hit enter. And you can see that this circle has moved relative to that one. I also want the centers to be 20mm apart from each other. So I'm going to left click on the first circle, left click on the second circle, and again move up to the top, left click to place the dimension, and change that to 20, so 20, and hit enter. Now this looks slightly odd at the moment. Hopefully it will make sense in a minute. The first thing I want to do now is to change this circle diameter so it's the same as that one. I could just dimension it to 20mm again, but actually I'm going to use the equals constraint. Now if you can't see that on your screen, it may be hiding under this one. There may be a little arrow like this that you need to click on, and then you can select the equals constraint. Left click on the circle I've dimensioned, left click on the other circle, and you'll see that it changes to the same size. Now I want to join these two circles up with the line tool. So I'm going to left click on the line tool, hover over the origin of the first circle, move up to the circumference. Hopefully you can just about see if I zoom in by using the scroll wheel on the mouse, so I can use that to zoom in and out. There's a dotted orange line, and I'm just going to make sure that that dotted orange line is at the 12 o'clock position of the circle. Left click and hold the line, come over to the other center, and then hover up and then let go. And that should mean that we've got from the 12 o'clock position of this circle to the 12 o'clock position of that circle. I'm going to do the same at the 6 o'clock positions. So hold the left mouse button down, come across, find that it lines up with that dotted orange line, and let go. Now with a sketch, I should only ever have two lines coming away from a point. So this point here, I've got the circle going to the left, the circle going to the right, and the line going off to the right as well. So I need to change my sketch, so I follow that simple rule. So I'm going to use the scissors tool, which is the trim tool, and I'm going to trim away the two parts on the inside of this circle and do the same with the other circle. So I've now just got this oval shape. If I hold the right mouse button down and move it around slightly, we can see how that's just drawn on that face. Now our robot wants two eyes. We want an eye on this side and we want an eye on that side. So what we're going to do is we're going to mirror that. So I'm just going to press N again on the keyboard for normal 2, and we're going to mirror these features, we're going to mirror these sketch entities over on this side. We'll do a mirror of a feature later. So use the mirror tool, which is this tool here. left click to select the tool. And then we're going to left click at the edge of this work plane. You can see it going orange. That's going to be our mirror line. So left click on there. And then we're going to select all of the entities that we want to mirror. So we're going to select the semicircle there, the line, the other semicircle, and the other line. And that's all we want to do. So when we're happy with that, we can select the mirror tool again to unselect it, and we have a mirror of what we've just drawn. I've just held the right mouse button down to turn it 3D, and we're now going to extrude, remove into the robot's head again. So we use the extrude remove tool. You can see it's defaulted to adding material and coming out, so we're going to left click on remove. It's defaulted to 25 millimeters. We want to change that to 10, so click on it, type in 10, hit return, and then left click on the tick to confirm it. So we've got our eye sockets. Let's add in some little eyeballs. So this time I'm going to hover over the bottom face of our eye socket. I'm going to right click and then left click on new sketch. Press N to view normal 2, and I can use the mouse wheel to scroll in a bit. Let's scroll in a little bit onto this eye. We're going to use the center point circle again, so let's pick that tool from the sketch tools, and this time I'm going to hover over the left, so I pick up kind of the 9 o'clock position of that half the circle. I'm going to hover across, and then I'm going to pick up the center of that line, and then I'm going to hover back up, and it should then locate the middle of the eye. So I'm going to left click to place the center of the circle, and I'm going to come down to that center point and left click to place the circle. So you can see it said diameter 20 on there already. So we don't need to dimension that, we know what size it is. I'm now going to use the line tool, and I'm going to move up to the top and draw a line by clicking and holding the mouse button, coming down to the bottom. So I've just drawn a tool. If you click and click, I'll show you over here in space. If I left click and left click and left click, it keeps putting in a line until I right click and go escape line, or I press escape. So if you do that, you can just press escape. Now I don't want these parts, so I'm just going to trim these out of the way. So I'm going to select the trim tool, and I also need the trim tool now to get rid of half the circle. So I'm going to left click on the right hand side of the circle, so that gives me a semicircle shape. And if I just move that round to the right, holding the right mouse button down, you'll see why. This time we're going to create the eyeball, but instead of doing an extrude, we're going to use a revolve. So I'm going to left click on the revolve tool. It's already picked up that sketch that I've just done, so I'm going to select the axis box by left clicking in it, and then I'm going to left click on the line, and that's created a sphere or a ball to make the eyeball. I'm going to left click to say that I'm happy with that, and I'm just using the mouse wheel to scroll out. So we've got one eyeball. Let's do a mirror of a feature to put the other eyeball in. So I'm going to select the mirror tool again, left click on that. It defaults to a part mirror, so I need to left click on part mirror and then select feature mirror with the left mouse button. And I'm now going to pick the feature to mirror. So over on the left hand side is everything we've done so far, and it's revolve 1 that we want to mirror. And then this is highlighted here, the plane, so I'm going to left click in there to select that box, and again we're just going to select the right plane. So left click on that, and you can see it's drawn in the other eyeball. Left click on the tick to say that we're happy. So we have our robot head so far. Let's add in some ears. Okay, so this time I'm going to hover over the front work plane. In fact, this time let's go over here. Let's right click on the front work plane over here, show you a different way of doing it. And I'm going to then left click on new sketch. I'm going to press N to view normal 2. And we're just going to zoom in over on the right hand side of our robot face. This time we're going to use the corner rectangle tool. So I'm going to select the little arrow on the rectangle tools, pick the corner rectangle tool, and I'm going to hover over the origin. I'm just going to come over to here, and just slightly off of the edge of the robot's head, but lining up with the origin, I'm going to left click to place the start of a rectangle, and then left click up and right to place the next part. I'm now going to left click on the bottom right of that rectangle and then draw another rectangle by left clicking. So I've got 2 rectangles drawn here. I'm now going to use the trim tool, and I'm going to trim away the edge twice where the two rectangles meet. So I've now got a kind of blocky backwards L shape, but I now need to dimension this. So I'm going to use the dimension tool. I'm going to dimension the short line first of all. So I'm going to left click on it, come over here, left click to place the dimension, and I'm going to type in 1212 to dimension that. If it shoots across the screen, don't worry at the moment. I'm now going to left click the bigger line to place the dimension, left click to put the dimension where I want, and I want this to be 30. So 30 typed in, hit enter. This top line, left click on it, left click to place it, and I want that to be 20. And this shorter line, left click on it, left click to place the dimension, I want that to be 10. I'm going to hit return. Now this is out in space at the moment. What we want this to be is attached to the robot. So I'm going to use the constraint tool of coincidence. So left click on this. I might have to select an arrow if I've still on the equals tool from before. Left click on it if you can't see all of the tools. And I'm then going to left click on the left hand line and left click on the edge of the face, and you can see it brings it back. Now again, we're going to do a revolve to create the robot's ear. So we're going to select the revolve feature tool, left click, and we've already got the sketch selected. We're going to make sure that it's going to add on, so left click on add if it hasn't done that. The revolve axis, I'm going to left click on and select the bottom line, and that's done the revolve, and you can see it's automatically merged with part 1, which is this. If it hasn't, I can click in there and then click on the robot head and it adds it. We're happy with that, so let's left click, use the scroll wheel on the mouse to zoom out a little bit, hold the right mouse button down. We can see that we have our ear drawn. We want one on the other side, so this time we're going to use the mirror tool again. So left click on the mirror tool, change it from part mirror to feature mirror by left clicking, select the feature, which is revolve 2, left click on the mirror plane, and we're going to click on the right plane. We can do it this over here on the menu this time, so let's left click on there, and we can see that the other ear has appeared. We can left click. So there's our robot head. Let's just add a bit of a neck and some shoulders. If you've got this far and you've run out of time, that's absolutely fine, don't worry. If you've still got a little bit of time, then let's try and add those extra features. So I'm just going to hold the right mouse button down and move our model around so I can see the bottom face of the robot. I'm going to right click on that bottom face, left click on new sketch, and then press N so I'm viewing onto the bottom of the robot's head. I'm going to use the center circle tool again, left click on that, left click on the origin, drag out a circle, left click to place it, and use the dimension tool, left click on the circumference, left click in space, and I want that to be 70, so 70 millimeters in diameter. Left click to place that, hold the right mouse button down so we can see what's happening, left click on extrude, and we're just going to go with the default 25 millimeters. Left click to confirm. Okay, now we're going to try something a little bit more complex. So this time we're going to create a new sketch on this face to start with. So right click on that bottom face, left click new sketch, and we're basically going to turn the corner into a sketch. So we're going to use this tool, which is the project or convert tool. Left click on that, left click on that edge, and you can see it's gone black, which means that we've turned that into a sketch or a sketch entity. We can left click to close that sketch. So we've still got the sketch over here, sketch number 8. If I hover over it, you can see it highlights it in orange over there. But we've closed it because we're going to create another sketch, and then we're going to do a loft between the two sketches. So this time we're going to create a new plane. So I'm going to click on the plane tool, and you can see it's come up with an offset and an offset distance of 25. We're going to left click on the neck, and you can see that it's made plane number 1 25 millimeters below. That's exactly what we want it to do. If it's trying to do it above, we could change the direction with this tool, but we want it to be below 25 millimeters is perfect, so we're going to left click to say we're happy with that. Over here we can see now that we've got plane 1. I'm going to right click on there and I'm going to left click on new sketch. Press N to view normal 2, and I'm going to go back to a center rectangle. So left click on the rectangle arrow, left click to select center point, and left click to place it in the middle, and drag it out and left click. Now we'll dimension that. So use the dimension tool. Left click on the long edge. We want that to be 200, 200, hit enter. And we want the short edge, so left click on there, left click to place it. We want that to be 90, 90, place that. And this time we're going to round off the corners. We're going to add a fillet. So we're going to use the fillet sketch tool, left click on there, and we're going to click on each of the corners. So top left, bottom right, top right. And then in space, I'm just going to left click again, and you can see that it comes up with the dimension tool with 5 millimeters. I'm going to change that to 30, 30, type it in, hit enter, and you can see it rounds the corners off. I'll just hold the right mouse button down and bring that round so you can see the shape that we've drawn. I'm going to left click the tick to say I'm happy with that sketch and come out the sketch. So we're now going to use the loft tool. So the loft tool allows us to create a 3-dimensional object between 2 or more sketches. So it's asking us for what profiles we want. So these are going to be our sketches. So we're going to pick sketch 8, so left click on sketch 8, and we also want sketch 9, so we're going to left click on sketch 9, and hopefully it's gone from new to add. If not, you can click on add, so it's adding in the material from there. All we're going to do now is left click to confirm what we've done, and there's our shoulders for our robot. I'm going to come over to the left, and I'm going to left click on the little triangle, left click on isometric, so there's our robot. And if you want to save this with yourself, you can share it with your own email address if you want to, and you'll be able to view it. You won't be able to edit it, but you will be able to view it. It will automatically be shared with me. Well done if you've got all the way through. We weren't expecting people to get all the way through, so well done if you have. Let your teacher know that you've finished, and we'll give you another task to do. Hope you've enjoyed doing that. It is a little bit challenging, but it's meant to be challenging. We're looking for the best students at Bryanston to be our design and technology scholars. So good luck with the rest of the process. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and hopefully we'll see you at Bryanston School in the near future.